Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're venturing into a really interesting space, something actually brought to us by you, our listener. It's this concept called the map. Think of it like a very deliberate process, maybe a step-by-step guide for consciously, creating the reality you want.
Yeah, shaping your reality.
Exactly. So we're going to unpack this dream-making machine, as the creator calls it, using the material you shared.
Absolutely. And what jumps out right away is the author's background.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking nearly 30 years working with these conscious creation ideas.
30 decades. Wow.
Yeah, studying all sorts of teachers, different entities.
Yeah.
And apparently the map itself wasn't just, dreamed up in a vacuum. It came out of a real need for a better tool, something more effective.
Right, which makes it feel less abstract. And the author talks about using it for some pretty big life stuff, too.
Definitely. Things like overcoming bankruptcy, finding what's described as a dream come true marriage, improving health, vitality, even building empowered relationships with kids.
So that personal story, that experience, it really grounds these ideas, doesn't it? It makes them feel more tested.
It really does. Now, for you listening, we get that you might be coming at this thinking, okay, what's this all about? Maybe you're skeptical, maybe just curious.
Yeah, fair enough.
And look, our goal here isn't really to, prove or disprove any big claims.
Yeah.
It's more about digging into the process of the map.
Okay.
What are its core assumptions about how reality works or how it might work? And what practical techniques does the author actually suggest?
So the mission for this deep dive is really just to understand the framework itself.
Exactly. Get to the heart of it.
Okay, so let's start with a fundamental piece, this difference between conscious and unconscious creation. What's the author actually saying there?
Well, the main idea is that we're always creating our reality.
Yeah.
Like constantly, whether we're paying attention or not.
Right.
Unconscious creation is basically when we're on autopilot. Driven by old thought habits, automatic emotional reactions, those deep-seated beliefs we barely even know we have.
Like muscle memory for our thoughts and feelings.
Kind of, yeah. They're just running in the background, shaping what happens, like driving home without really thinking about the route. You just do it.
So it's like we're putting out signals based on those old patterns without meaning to.
That's the idea. And the author argues that if we consciously step in, like really decide what we want and focus our attention deliberately, we could start getting, better results, more desirable outcomes.
Shifting from just letting things happen to us to actively participating, it sort of reminds me of that idea of self-fulfilling prophecies.
It definitely resonates with that, yeah. Where our expectations can actually, nudge things in a certain direction.
Now, something that really stood out to me is the author's point that the goal isn't just getting stuff. The car, the job title, whatever. It seems deeper.
Yes, that's a key distinction. The focus is really on the feeling state you want to achieve.
Ah.
So it's not just about being rich, but feeling prosperous. Not just being married, but feeling loved and connected. Achieving joy, fulfillment.
Right.
The things, the money, the relationship, the job, they're seen more as potential side effects, maybe. Yeah. Or natural outcomes of focusing on that inner feeling.
That makes a lot of sense when you think about those examples the author uses.
Like the wealthy person who's still miserable.
Exactly. Or the couple that looks perfect but feels totally disconnected.
Right. Those examples really highlight that hitting the external markers doesn't automatically equal inner happiness. So the suggestion is if you aim for the feeling first, you're getting to the core of the desire. And the outer stuff tends to line up with that inner state.
Okay, that's a really interesting perspective. Now, what about change itself? Even good change can feel hard. The map talks about resistance, right?
It does, yeah. The author acknowledges that we humans, we tend to resist change. Even positive change we say we want.
Why is that?
It can come from different places. Fear of failing, obviously. But also sometimes a fear of success, like what happens if it works? The unknown.
Huh. Never thought of it that way.
And also just past disappointments, Getting let down makes you hesitant to get your hopes up again. It lines up with a lot of psychological models about change resistance is often just part of the deal.
So how does the map suggest dealing with that resistance? Just push through?
Actually, no. The approach is much gentler. It's about acknowledging those fearful parts of yourself. Kind of. Loving them even, honoring them.
Honoring the fear.
Yeah, recognizing it's there, it's part of being human, but not letting it drive the bus, so to speak, accepting it without giving it control.
That sounds healthier, maybe? More sustainable than just battling it. Now, another huge piece seems to be the power of beliefs. This feels central.
Oh, absolutely. It's presented as a cornerstone. Beliefs are described as thoughts and feelings wired into your system, things we take as absolute truth.
Not just passing thoughts, then, more like the operating system.
Exactly. Like the underlying code running our whole perception of reality.
Yeah.
These are deep patterns.
And the idea is these beliefs actually shape things, tangibly.
That's the proposal. That beliefs emit a kind of energy, a frequency, that attracts conditions matching the belief.
Wow.
So if you deeply believe, say, I'm not worthy of good things, you'll tend to find situations that confirm that. But the flip side is, if you can change those core beliefs,
then everything else can change too. Your success, money, health, relationships.
that's the transformative potential the author points to. It's like our inner landscape really is the blueprint for the outer world.
Okay. And the last core concept here is this flow of energy. What's that about?
Right. So flowing energy means consciously directing your attention, your focus, your positive emotions towards what you do want, cultivating alignment with your desires.
Okay.
But just as important, it's about stopping the flow towards what you don't want, those nightmares, as the author calls them.
So starving the negative outcomes of energy.
Sort of, yeah. Being really mindful about where your attention and emotional energy are going. And the author is clear. Just thinking positive thoughts is only a small piece of this. It's a bigger picture of aligning thoughts, feelings, focus, the whole package.
Got it. Okay, so we've got the core ideas down. Let's shift to the how-tos. What are the actual steps or techniques the map lays out? First up seems to be getting clear on your dream.
Yes, clarifying your intention, your dream. That's step one. Absolutely crucial. And the author makes a good point. Even if you don't know exactly what you want.
You probably know what you don't want.
Exactly. Or at least how you want to feel differently.
So you use that dissatisfaction, that don't want, as a clue.
Precisely. You flip it, turn the dislikes into positive wants, and then you refine those into clear, powerful intentions.
Like if you hate your job.
Right. You don't just focus on hating it. You turn it into, I intend to have work that feels exciting and pays well, or whatever fits for you. Take the negative feeling, flip it into a positive statement of desire.
Okay. And when we make these intentions, should we get super specific about, like, how it has to happen?
The advice is generally not to get too locked into the specifics of the how or the who.
Oh, interesting. Why not?
Because it limits possibilities. The focus should be more on the essence, the underlying feeling. So for a loving partnership, you intend the feelings love, fun, safety, respect, shared values.
Rather than, I need to meet someone who looks exactly like this and has this specific job.
Exactly. Focusing on the feeling and the core qualities leaves room for the universe, or your subconscious, or whatever you want to call it, to deliver it in ways you might not expect. More flexibility.
Okay, that makes sense. So we have clear intentions. What's next? We have to tackle those beliefs we talked about, right?
Absolutely. Because just wanting something, even really badly, isn't enough if your deep down beliefs are screaming, that's impossible, or you don't deserve that.
Right. The foundation needs to match the building you want to put on top.
Perfectly put. Your beliefs are that foundation. If they contradict your intention, they'll likely sabotage your efforts.
So how do we even find these hidden beliefs? They sound tricky.
The author suggests looking for clues. Pay attention to your habitual thoughts. What emotions keep popping up around certain topics? What do you catch yourself saying out loud?
Like, I can never afford that.
Exactly. Or maybe you notice patterns in your behavior, like always procrastinating on something you say you want. And ultimately, look at the reality you're actually living. It often mirrors those beliefs.
So if I feel dread whenever I think about my bills.
That could point to a belief in lack or scarcity, yeah. If you keep avoiding applying for that dream job, maybe there's a belief you're not capable or you don't deserve it.
It requires some real self-awareness then, paying close attention.
It really does. And once you identify a belief you want to change, the map offers a specific technique called Level 2 Belief Change.
Level 2. Okay, tell me about that. Sounds intriguing.
It's quite a detailed visualization process. First, you literally write down the old belief you want to ditch, and then you write down the new, empowering belief you want instead.
Okay, old versus new. Got it.
Then, you go into a meditative state. Find a quiet place, close your eyes, and you mentally ask for help from your unseen friends.
Unseen friends, like guides or higher self.
Yeah, could be intuition, higher self, guides, angels.
Yeah.
However you conceptualize that inner or spiritual support, you ask them to assist in the process.
Okay, so you're not doing it totally alone.
Right. Then you imagine yourself going on a journey, Often it's visualized as walking up a big staircase into this misty, sort of ethereal place.
Right.
And at the top, you arrive in this vibrant city that's meant to represent your subconscious mind.
Okay.
You're greeted by the ruler of the city, the king or queen, who symbolizes your subconscious itself. You tell them which belief you want to change. And your higher self, also visualized there, gives the okay. Then you're taken to the building of beliefs.
A literal building for beliefs, like a library.
Kind of, a symbolic place. You go to a specific room for these level 2 beliefs. Often imagine it as like a huge round room with tons of filing cabinets.
Wow, okay.
And you find the drawer with the old belief written on a card, and you symbolically pull it out. Then you give the new belief card to the king or queen, and they carefully put it right back in the same spot.
So it's a very symbolic act of removal and replacement within the subconscious.
Exactly, using visualization and ritual to kind of reprogram that subconscious pattern. You repeat it for any other beliefs you're working on.
That's quite a mental journey. What happens after the visualization?
Then the conscious mind steps in. For the next 60 days, you need to write or type only the new beliefs and read them aloud every single day.
Every day for 2 months.
Yep. With as much positive feeling and belief as you can summon, the author really stresses consistency. If you miss a day, you just get another day on at the end.
So the repetition helps cement it in your conscious mind, too.
That's the idea. Reinforce the new pathway.
And the book gives examples, right? Like changing love hurts to...
What was it?
To love expands, or love is fulfilling. Or changing money is hard to make to money flows to me easily. Right, so you create affirmations that feel positive and expansive.
Exactly. They need to resonate, feel exciting, feel possible to you.
Okay. Now, the map also talks about working with different parts of ourselves beyond just beliefs.
Yeah.
Like younger selves.
Yes, exactly. It suggests that parts of us, our inner child, our adolescent self, maybe even a younger adult version, can still hold on to limiting beliefs from things that happened way back then.
Huh.
And even if we're not aware of it now, those old beliefs held by those younger parts can still be running the show, basically sabotaging what our adult self wants today.
So stuff from childhood could still be blocking my goals now.
That's the idea. So the techniques involve meditating, visualizing those past environments like your childhood home, and then connecting with that younger you.
How do you connect?
You talk to them mentally. You send them love, explain your current dreams, listen to their fears, and then you try to give them what they needed or wanted back then, but within their own world.
It sounds a bit like inner child therapy, healing those old wounds.
It's very much along those lines, yeah. Reassuring them, setting boundaries so they feel safe, and don't feel the need to interfere with your adult life now. Integrating them.
Okay. And there's also the negative self mentioned, or the ego.
Right. That's seen as another part that can actively work against you, throwing negative thoughts and doubts your way, basically flowing nightmares into your dreams, as the author puts it.
The inner critic. We all know that voice.
Oh, yeah. And the technique here is dialogue, consciously talking to that negative self.
Like having a conversation with it.
Yep. In a quiet space, you let it speak its mind, let it air its fears, its criticisms, without you judging it or arguing back initially.
Just listen to the doubt.
Listen to understand it. The goal isn't to shut it up, but to become aware of its patterns, maybe uncover the hidden beliefs fueling it, and ultimately just reduce its power over you by bringing it into the light.
That sounds like it takes practice.
The author suggests doing it daily for at least 3 months to really get a handle on it.
Wow, okay. So we've clarified dreams, changed beliefs, talked to our inner selves. What about actually boosting the energy flow towards the good stuff? Any specific techniques for that?
Yes, several key ones. One is called igniting intentions.
Igniting, like setting them on fire.
Metaphorically, yeah. You take your written intentions and you vividly imagine them bursting into flames, feeling that energy, that heat, that excitement. Really charge them up with emotion and visualization.
Okay, putting some serious feeling behind them. What else?
Another big one is a day in the day of the dream.
Sounds immersive.
It is. You basically live a whole day as if your dream has already come true. You act like it, think like it, feel like it.
How would that work?
Well, the author gives an example of an aspiring writer. She spends the day acting as if she's already a famous, successful author, how she'd walk, talk, what she'd focus on, how she'd feel receiving accolades.
So you embody the future reality now.
Exactly. It helps break down disbelief and lets you feel what that reality is actually like. Plus, it can show you where you still have resistance or conflicting thoughts.
Like a trial run for your future self. That's clever.
Yeah.
Any others?
Yep. There's grateful for now and then. This involves making gratitude lists.
Okay, gratitude lists are pretty common advice. What's the twist?
The twist is you list things you're grateful for now in your current life, and do you list things you'll be grateful for in the future, but you write them as if they've already happened.
So future gratitude in the present tense.
Exactly. I am so grateful for my loving partner. I'm so grateful for my thriving business, even if they haven't fully manifested yet. It amps up the positive feelings and the feeling of already having it.
Combining present appreciation with future expectation. I like that.
The author even shares some of her own lists from years ago, pointing out how many of the then items are now her now reality.
Okay, that makes sense. But it can't all be just thinking and feeling, right?
Right.
What about doing stuff? Action.
Oh, action is crucial. Absolutely. But the map emphasizes inspired action.
Inspired action. What's the difference?
It's action that comes from a place of excitement, joy, genuine enthusiasm. It feels like the natural next step, pulling you forward.
As
opposed to action you take because you feel you have to, out of obligation, or because you think you need to struggle and earn your dream.
So forcing it versus flowing with it.
Exactly. That forced, dutiful action can actually create resistance. Inspired action feels good, even if it's challenging. And sometimes, the author notes, the most powerful action isn't directly related to the goal.
Like what?
Like doing something purely self-loving, buying yourself flowers, taking a relaxing bath. Actions that address underlying feelings of unworthiness can be surprisingly effective, even if they don't seem productive towards the main goal.
Because they shift your feeling state.
Precisely. And sometimes, yes, the inspired action is the big, scary thing.
Like quitting the job or ending the relationship.
Right, leaving the situation that's holding you back. That often requires courage. But if it's aligned with your true desire, it's transformative.
Okay, so we're putting intentions out, taking inspired action. How do we know if anything's actually working? The map talks about signs, right?
Yes, recognizing signs is presented as really important. A sign is basically any change in your reality, big or small, that relates to the area you're working on.
So if I'm intending more money.
A sign might be finding a quarter on the street, getting an unexpected small refund, someone offering you a free coffee, maybe hearing about a potential opportunity.
Little things.
Often, yeah, especially at first. They can be subtle. If you're intending love, maybe you start noticing happy couples everywhere, or a friend mentions someone who sounds interesting, or you stumble across an article about healthy relationships.
And the key is to actually notice them and not just dismiss them.
Exactly. That's the crucial part. It requires conscious awareness. Don't just brush it off as coincidence. The author gives lots of examples comparing typical negative reactions, oh, it's just a corner, with positive flow-strengthening responses.
Which would be?
Acknowledging it. Wow, thank you. A sign my abundance is increasing. Celebrating it, feeling grateful for it, seeing it as evidence your energy is shifting.
So you consciously interpret these small things as positive feedback.
Yes. And importantly, the author advises being careful who you share these signs with.
Why is that?
Because if you share them with someone skeptical or negative, their reaction can kind of dampen the energy, diminish the power of the sign for you. So keep them sacred, celebrate them privately or with supportive people.
Got it. Okay, so what about when the bigger things start showing up, when the intention actually manifests? How do we respond then?
This is presented as a really critical point. You have to acknowledge and appreciate the manifestation. Own it.
What happens if you don't?
The author suggests you can actually uncreate it. It can fade away. Think of lottery winners who blow through the money.
Or celebrities who achieve huge fame and then self-destruct.
Exactly. Those are potential examples. It's about recognizing you played a part in creating it, feeling the gratitude, and letting that reinforce your belief in your ability to create. Don't downplay it or chalk it up entirely to luck.
So own your success.
Yeah.
And does your self-image need to change too?
Yes, definitely. You need to start seeing yourself as the person who has this new reality. If you get the dream job but still deep down see yourself as the struggling applicant, you might unconsciously revert back to old patterns.
Aligning the inner identity with the outer reality. That feels key for making it stick.
Very key.
Now, one of the more maybe out there aspects for some people is this idea of making room for miracles and asking for help.
Right. This ties back to the unseen friends idea. Higher self, intuition guides the universe, whatever term resonates.
Okay.
The point is to actively ask for assistance. Ask for help manifesting intentions. Ask for help staying happy. Ask for clarity when you're confused or facing challenges.
So actively engaging with that sense of support.
Yes. The author shares a personal story about asking for a really clear sign about a major life decision, quitting law school, I think it was, and then receiving multiple seemingly very improbable confirmations shortly after.
Wow. Okay. So it's about being open to receiving help in unexpected ways.
Exactly. You can't necessarily force a miracle on demand, but being open to them, expecting good things, and specifically asking for guidance or intervention, the author suggests that dramatically increases the chances of experiencing those kinds of synchronistic, helpful events.
Okay. Now, it's not all focused on the big goals, is it? The map also seems to really stress just being happy day to day.
Oh, hugely. Happiness is presented not as the prize you get after you manifest everything, but as a choice you make now. It's an intention in itself.
So how do you just choose to be happy?
Well, practical things. Making the conscious choice is step one. Seeking out inspiration. Doing activities you know bring you joy. Reminding yourself it is a choice. And again, asking those unseen friends for help in feeling happy and staying positive.
So happiness is part of the process, not just the result. And this ties into staying present, too.
Yes, because dwelling on the past, regrets, mistakes, or constantly worrying about the future takes you out of the present moment, where happiness actually exists.
And where your power to create exists, presumably.
Exactly. Worrying about the future or replaying the past drains your energy from the present. So, practicing mindfulness, bringing your focus back to now is key for both happiness and effective energy flow.
Okay, this is a lot, a really comprehensive system. But what if you're doing all this and it just feels like nothing's happening or it's really hard? Does the map offer any troubleshooting tips?
It does. There's a helpful checklist for when things feel stuck.
Like what?
It prompts you to review your thoughts and feelings about the situation. Are they genuinely aligned? Recheck your intentions. Are they truly clear? Look for those flow stoppers, hidden negative beliefs or persistent negative emotions. Are you actively flowing positive energy or just passively wishing? Are you taking inspired action? And crucially, are you allowing enough time?
Patience is part of it too.
Definitely. It's a systematic way to go back through the steps, see where the energy might be getting blocked or misdirected, and get things flowing again.
So it's about checking the fundamentals, making sure all the pieces are working together.
Exactly right. It reminds you it's an ongoing practice needing awareness, focus, and consistent effort.
Well, this has certainly been a thorough exploration. It seems the map offers a really detailed, map for consciously trying to shape our lives through intentions, beliefs, managing energy, taking action, and paying attention.
It really does. And as we've kind of unpacked, it's not just presented as simple wishing. It's a practical, layered approach that involves understanding ourselves, our patterns, and then actively getting involved in the creation process.
Yeah.
So for you listening, you've now got a pretty solid overview of the main steps, the core ideas, the assumptions behind the map.
And hopefully that gives you something to think about, some ideas maybe to consider exploring, which leads to maybe a final thought for reflection. If the feeling is really the main goal, as the author suggests, what's one small feeling you could choose to deliberately cultivate today? Just one small shift that might start moving your energy towards those bigger dreams you have.
That's a great question to sit with. What's one small feeling right now?
Yeah.
And look, if this whole framework felt intriguing, if these ideas resonated, we definitely suggest checking out the original source material. You can dive much deeper into all the specific techniques we touched on.
Absolutely. Ultimately, it seems the message of the map is about waking up to and hopefully embracing your own potential as a conscious creator in your life.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.